Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Alrighty, what is up, my artist? It is time for my lists. Every year, I do these lists, the worst and best movies of 2024. I usually do them every year, often, because I watch so many movies a year. This year, my goal was 140. I'm close to that goal. Just gotta watch a few more after, my deadline. But my deadline this year, usually it was the 10th, but due to the fact that there wasn't any other movies coming out in that span of time, my deadline this year was December 6th. So from December 10th last year all the way to December 6th this year, almost a full year of movies. So many fucking movies I watched. And this year, there's a lot of bad, there's a lot of good, it was a good bit in the middle. I will say, this list today is the worst list. Obviously, I do the worst list first, and then the week after that, it's going to be tricky this year because since Christmas is on a fucking Wednesday this year, there's going to be a little bit of a scheduling issue. So yeah. But besides that, I usually do my worst and then my best list after. So, worst list is now. Now, rules, obviously, last year I made it a point to put a section of what I missed from the year prior. That is still going to be a thing. I have made a couple of other rules for myself this year when it comes down to what makes my list. When it comes down to if there's a certain director that's made multiple movies of the year, or there's a company or franchise that has multiple movies in the span of a year, I will only on the main list, I will only count one. If it's something like Rebel Moon, where it could possibly go on my what I missed or something like that, that is going to be a accommodation, because there's certain movies that in the what I missed, it's not on the actual list. So basically, one movie per franchise, one movie per director. That's the goal here. Because I was having some overlapping issues with some of the shit, especially because I was worried about the Pooniverse stuff and everything, because they like to put multiple movies out a year. Same with Marvel and DC and everything like that. I don't want to just fill my list with good Marvel movies or bad Marvel movies or bad DC movies or good DC movies. I don't want to just fill my list with those. And that's the issue with cinematic universes. I have to pick and choose. So, new rules this year, only for the better. My lists keep evolving. So, that's the goal here. But without further ado, let's get into what I missed from last year. What I should have just missed in general, because this is the top 10 worst movies of the year. But first, we gotta get to the what I missed. So, on that note, let's get to what I missed.
You're a fucking disappointment.
On to the what I missed. So what I missed from 2023, worst, when it comes to worst things I missed from 2023, God, One thing I missed, and these are the main things I missed worst wise were after my deadline ended. So Wonka with Timothée Chalamet. I'll start this off with that because it's more or less bland and boring and just, it's not a fun movie. I'm just not that high on Timothée Chalamet, if I'm being completely honest with you. I don't think he's that great. And I think he also, like, doesn't help why this movie is so just lame. I think that's a big issue for a movie, is when the actor can't carry a movie if the story is bad or anything like that. It's an issue. The story isn't really that good. It's a prequel to Willy Wonka, which, why would we need this? I don't understand why we would need a prequel to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I don't understand why we need a lot of these fucking prequels and sequels and everything like that. And that's saying something, because some stuff I do like sequel-wise, and we'll talk about later in the coming weeks. And it's just like, some things that they make adaptations of don't need adaptations. And this is one of them, and the story wasn't great. Like, it wasn't a sound and structured story with the main gist of it. It was a musical, which obviously it was a musical, but the main gist of it was Willy Wonka, like, trying to take down this empire of chocolatiers and shit. And he has this little girl by his side, and it's just like, why? They show the way that the fucking Oompa Loompas were found, and it's just like, why? I didn't like it in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and I don't really like it in this one either. So it's just, I don't know. I personally didn't enjoy the film. I could see why some people would, but it's the less egregious of what I missed this year. Not this year, last year. But I digress. The second film is actually the first film I watched this year, because it came out a couple days before Christmas. What a Christmas present, because this shit was lame as hell. Rebel Moon Part 1 was fucking abysmal. I genuinely, to start out my year in 2024, I watched it, and when I tell you, it was so boring that I almost fell asleep during this film. This film was 2 hours long. Way too fucking long. It's made by Zack Snyder. Obviously, that's a red flag in itself. Big fucking problem there. And it's just like, why the fuck would you sit there? And this is a Netflix problem. Why the fuck would you sit there and greenlight this big ass project when it's just a Star Wars clone? Like, it's legitimately, I haven't even watched Star Wars, but even just looking at it myself, I could tell it's a Star Wars clone, and I'm just like, what's the point of this? What's the point of Zack Snyder, someone who is notorious for ruining DC's films, make something that's just basically Star Wars? And I found out while doing my review of the movie as well, that fucking, it was actually what Zack Snyder pitched for a Star Wars trilogy. And I'm just like, why? I'm glad Disney didn't take it because it's boring. It's so boring that I barely remember it. Like, I barely remember it. And that's an issue. That's an issue when it comes to a film. If I can't remember most of your film and it was so fucking boring that I sat there and almost fell asleep, that's sad. The actors are bland. They cannot act. There's points in the fucking movie where you could tell that the pixels on the camera were dead. How do you greenlight that? And I can only imagine it's just a mix of Netflix and Zack Snyder just not caring. Because here's the thing. You mix two fucking evils with each other, Netflix and Zack Snyder, it's like a fucking... It's a disaster waiting to happen. And I guess Zack Snyder has been a part of fucking this Netflix deal for a while now because he had Army of the Dead and apparently that had Batista in it. But I didn't see it. It came out in 2021. I didn't see it. Saw this garbage fire and just immediately did not care for Army of the Dead. I will say, after seeing this and seeing that it was a part 1, it really fucking disappointed me because I knew I was going to have to watch part 2 at that point. And we'll get to that later. But yeah, that is what I missed for last year's movies. Last year it was just one thing that I missed, and this year it's two things, and they were just... One was just lame, and the other was just atrocious. So, on that note, let's go ahead and get to the official top 10 list of 2024 worst movies. Let's get to it.
You're a fucking disappointment.
Alrighty, coming in at number 10, we have The Watchers. Now, what's so special about The Watchers, you might ask? Well, I will tell you. It is the directorial debut of M. Night Shyamalan's daughter. God, she is just like her father because holy shit, this movie was not good. It was not good. It made absolutely no fucking sense. So, this movie was about a girl and her fucking husband. Or no, it was just a girl, actually. There was a husband or whatever. It's confusing. That's why I'm getting it mixed up. And it was about a girl getting lost in the woods. And she gets helped by this old woman and this group of people, and they are in this box, and it's got a mirror window type. It's like a one-sided window type deal. And basically they're being hunted by these creatures, which, by the way, they don't really give that much detail on what the creatures look like. They're just like creatures, and I guess they're shapeshifters and shit. And by the way, I'm gonna spoil things in this. I should mention, I'm gonna spoil things when I talk about these films. So the twist of this film is there's an underground bunker, and I guess there was an old scientist that had a wife who passed away. And so the gist is that he studied these creatures, and fucking the creatures one of the creatures he locked in the bunker with him and told him to act like basically shapeshift into his wife. And he died, by the way, I should say. But basically, the old woman that took this lady in and is taking all these people in is that fucking creature. So they escape, the old lady and all this shit, and fucking it's just like they escape and then they kill this fucking lady, and it's just like, or this creature, and it's just like, and then there's this whole thing about people watching him. Apparently the lady didn't even die. The lady's like a fucking, she shapeshifted into a little girl and shit. It's stupid. It's stupid. And I'm just like, I'm sorry. The Shyamalans, I'm sorry. They're absolutely, positively god-awful at directing films. I gave this one a chance because I thought, okay, it's not M. Night. It isn't M. Night. It's his daughter. Maybe, just maybe, fucking terrible writing skips a generation. Maybe she would be great and everything. And I had some honest to God fucking like, I was hoping to God. But here we are, and it was just, after I watched this film, like, it wasn't a joyful experience. It just wasn't. And after I watched it, I just felt like there was no point. I mean, I felt like I wasted my time, because the film was so contrived and stupid and bullshit that why watch this for enjoyment? Some people I saw enjoyed it. I don't know how. I'm not gonna say that it's bad that you did. I just, personally, I don't feel that the Shyamalans are great writers. And honestly, as a directorial debut, it's really hard, because M. Night has had some good films, but when your directorial debut, when it comes down to your daughter's directorial debut, and it's so dog shit that I just don't want to see anything else from her, it's an issue, man. It's a real big issue. So, on that note, that was my thoughts on The Watchers, and that was number 10. Let's go ahead and get to number 9 on my worst movies of 2024 list.
You're a fucking disappointment.
Alrighty, number 9 on my worst movies of 2024 list. Coming in at number 9 is Rebel Moon Part 2. I told you we would be talking about fucking Rebel Moon again. Did I not? The sad part is, this film is coming in at number 9. There's so much worse that's, like, on this list, that somehow Rebel Moon has been booted to number 9 on this list. That's sad. That's very sad. This movie came out, and I wasn't excited for it. I really wasn't. I wasn't looking forward to sitting there and watching it for a review. I watched it. It was the conclusion. It was god fucking awful. Honestly, like, the way that Zack Snyder portrays his characters and portrays his stories and portrays his cinematography, the cinematography is the worst thing about it. I could say all I want about characters and everything, but if you have good cinematography, that's a plus. Zack Snyder does not. Everything looks drowned out. Fucking, it's all yellow, gray, dark, black, everything. I'm sorry. I like a bit of color in my movies. I like when things don't just look like fucking CGI abominations. I would enjoy if there wasn't 25 fucking slow motion shots for no pointless fucking reason. I would enjoy watching a movie that I would actually get and understand and enjoy. But this film, it's just, I feel like every single thing about it is padding. Everything pads, and there's useless dialogues, and there's just the characters are the worst part about it, because none of them can act. If you're gonna make a movie, at least make it to where the fucking actors and actresses that are playing your characters can fucking act. I honestly, like, I've seen some god-awful movies in my time. Even some of the movies from last year's list have things that I can say that are good about them. Some of them. But this, there is nothing good about this film. It's just bland. And see, here's the thing. A lot of films on this list are like that. And that's the sad part about movies nowadays, is the fact that there's either bad acting, especially with Zack Snyder. There's a lot of fucking bad acting. There's a lot of fucking goddamn bad cinematography, bad fucking everything. And this was a main proprietor of that. And it, like I said, it was a fucking Star Wars ripoff. And it's even so bad to where I don't even think Netflix is going to greenlit light another fucking Rebel Moon. Which is sad when you think about it, because Netflix is Netflix. But fucking hell, I don't have anything else to say about Rebel Moon. I've said my piece about it in both of my reviews. I've said my piece about the first one and the what I missed, and I really just don't care to talk about it anymore. But I have to mention it on the worst movies of this year because it is awful. Rebel Moon Part 2 lands at the number 9 spot. Let's go ahead and get to number 8.
You're a fucking disappointment.
Alright, coming in at number 8 of the worst movies of 2024, we have Borderlands. I wanted this to be good. I haven't played the Borderlands games, but I've watched playthroughs. I actually enjoy Borderlands, at least watching wise. I haven't played the games, like I said. But it's just like, why have you done this? We had the Mario movie and all the Sonic movies that have come out and everything, and like, why have you done this? Why? Bro, like, they've been fucking video game adaptations. Five Nights at Freddy's was decent. Like, video game adaptations have been good recently, and then you just take a shit on it with Borderlands. Like, what have you done? It sucks so bad because I wanted this to be good, and it just wasn't. I'm just going to start off with the cast, because I actually have a history with this film, because this film got announced at the final ever E3. So, and I watched that E3, E3 2019. It was a fun experience for me watching that E3, because it was the first E3 that I watched, and it was, the last. So, you could say I kind of screwed the pooch on that one, but COVID happened, so I didn't know that shit was going to happen, so it's whatever. But they announced the like actors and actresses that were going to be a part of it and everything. And it sounded so good. And Eli Roth is so fucking good at some things, but this, what the flying fuck? Eli Roth was the director of this, and it's sad because I enjoy a lot of Eli Roth's work, but this, it's just, why have you done this? So we had Kate Blanchett as Lilith, we had Kevin Hart as Roland, fucking Edgar Ramirez as Atlas, Jamie Lee Curtis as Tanis, and fucking Ariana Greenblatt as Tiny Tina, and I can't even pronounce who the fuck played Craig. And then, of course, last but not least, we had fucking Jack Black as Claptrap. God damn it, bro. Like, god damn it. I have so many things to say about the acting performances in this fucking film. Especially Ariana Greenblatt and fucking Jack Black. I genuinely don't know what the fuck happened to them acting wise. I don't know if it was just the way that they acted or what have you, but Jack Black was fucking annoying. And that's saying something because he was in the best movie I saw last year, the Super Mario Bros. Movie. That's saying something, that Jack Black went from being in the best movie I saw last year to being a complete fucking annoyance in this movie this year. The voice of Claptrap that he used was inconsistent. It changed multiple times. It was just, all the jokes that they gave him made me hate him more. This movie has made me dislike Jack Black more. And it's just like, bro, why? I don't want to dislike Jack Black. I like Jack Black. I don't mind Jack Black. But the fact that he was in this movie and he was so fucking annoying, it was just, oh, man. And then some of the Ariana Greenblatt, I don't know what happened to her, because not only was she young Gamora in Infinity War, and she was in Barbie, she was okay in Barbie, like, I don't know what happened. This movie, with her in it, I'm gonna play some of the clips of just her acting performance, and you could tell how fucking bad it is, because it's honestly, it's mind-blowing how fucking awful her line delivery is, and it's terrible, and I don't get what fucking happened, truthfully.
Time to make it rain with your body parts. What? My daddy? I get to see my daddy? Really? Lilith, can you grab my badonkadonk?
You what now?
But it's just like, I don't even know, man. It's not a good movie. The pacing's terrible. The jokes are unfunny. Kevin Hart is unfunny in this fucking film. He's so unfunny. Kate Blanchett is not... Why? Just why? She's not fucking... I hate to say it, but, like, she's a good actress. And I don't... But, like... She's not young enough to play Lilith. Like, it's just not... You're talking about somebody who's... I don't even know how old, but I could tell she's not old. Like, she's not young enough to play Lilith. And it's just like, what are we doing, dude? Jamie Lee Curtis is, like, probably the worst part about this, because she is just the biggest fucking hypocrite for even, like, trying to be in this movie, because not only did she ruin the Halloween franchise, she fucking sat there and wasn't in, like, she was in a bad fucking Haunted Mansion remake, and then now I'm seeing her in this, and it's just like, what the fuck are we doing? Genuinely, like, I'm actually, why? I don't know, the story was just, it wasn't Borderlands, really. It felt so hemmed in and everything, and just irritating. But yeah, fucking, that was number 8. Let's go on and get to number 7.
You're a fucking disappointment.
Coming in at number 7, we have M. Night Shyamalan's Trap, because it wouldn't be a list without M. Night Shyamalan. It's like the father-daughter duo. Now, like, this counted because it was him directing this one, so it counted. But it's just like, okay, alright, fucking legitimately, how do you go? M. Night Shyamalan is like the only person that could do this directorial, like being directorial wise and everything. Like, how do you go from directing Knock at the Cabin, which I thought was a really great movie last year and was close to the top of my list, and now not only you but your daughter is on my worst list this year. This movie, Trap, was about fucking a guy and his daughter going to this fucking concert, and the guy is a serial killer. Now, this serial killer is played by Josh Hartnett, and man, fucking, he tried, like, I just, of all things, like, why? Like, why? This movie was so, it was so ass. Like, it's just, it was so fucking ass. And so basically, the issue was that he's in this fucking concert, and it's a quote-unquote trap, basically. So this whole deal is, this whole concert that he's taking his daughter to is a trap to find out who this killer is. And it's Josh Hartnett, and he tries to escape by his serial killer tactics, super strength. I don't fucking know. He ends up, the twist is, he ends up fucking taking the pop star that he's taking his daughter to see, and he takes her to his house like a fucking dipshit and tells her that he's the fucking serial killer, so she'll, like, and it turns out the twist is that fucking his wife knew, and she was the one that set up the trap. And it's just, why? There's so many reasons why this movie just doesn't make any sense, and why I don't understand how every time I watch an M. Night Shyamalan movie, it's like I watch 10, and there can be 10 awful movies, and I get one diamond in the rough, and then 10 more. Just like, it just, M. Night Shyamalan is not a good director, and this film just wasn't good. And the ending was worse too, because he gets arrested, but then somehow escapes. And that was just the ending. Dude, like, what are we doing? What are we fucking doing? Like, I don't know how you can enjoy that. How you can feel satisfied after watching this film. I don't get, honestly. And that's just the issue with this film. I wasn't satisfied while watching it. It made no fucking sense. It was a decent premise. If they would have fucking, actually did something with it, But, with that being said, let's go ahead and get to number 6 on our list.
You're a fucking disappointment.
Coming in at number 6, we have Miller's Girl. God, this was... it starred Jenna Ortega. And I remember thinking to myself, I saw the trailers, and it was basically about Jenna Ortega seducing her teacher and everything. And immediately I thought, okay, this is already bait for some people, especially Jenna Ortega Sims. This is already bait. But the way the trailer was laid out made it an interesting premise. The problem, that interesting premise, here's what I was talking about with Trap, the last movie I talked about, just was a mess. It got turned into a mess, and it got to the point where it was just boring. Like, it was just really, 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 really boring. And that isn't how you treat a premise. This movie, it had so much potential to be at least decent. I don't think it was going to make my best list at all, but it had the potential to be something, something. Especially with Jenna Ortega attached to it, it had the potential. Safe to say, that potential was squandered, and the ending was disappointing, the beginning was disappointing, the middle was disappointing, the entire thing was disappointing. And the sad part is, I watched this film on my vacation, because I was like, okay, I'm gonna chill and watch some films on my vacation. And this is one of the films I watched, and it was just like, wow, that sucked. That really, really, really sucked. Like, so hard. No pun intended. But I don't know. There's not much to say about this film. I don't remember much about it. I just know it had an interesting premise, and it was just really, really boring. And like, I don't know. When I see an actress that I like Jenna Ortega attached to something, I think, okay, let's give it a try, And this one gave me a little hope, because of the fact that it had an interesting premise, and then it just squandered it. So, what else can I do, man? What else can I really do with films like that? Not much, I'll tell you right now. I put it on my worst list. That's all I can really do. That's what this list is for, to vent my frustrations throughout the year. But yeah. On that note, fuck it. I don't really know if I have anything else to say about this film. So on that note, let's just go ahead and get to the halfway point of this list. Number 5.
You're a fucking disappointment.
Alrighty, coming in at number 5 on the list, Joker, Folle et Deux. I looked up the pronunciation. I'm just gonna call it Joker 2 from the rest of this, because I can't be bothered, okay? That's what that's what the pronunciation says. So if I butchered it, fuck off. I don't care. So I watched this in theaters. I knew it wasn't gonna be as good as Joker. I knew it wasn't gonna be as the first Joker. I understood that. I knew it was gonna be a musical. I'm not like all these people that thought, oh, whoa, this is a musical, what the fuck? You know, that wasn't... I knew it was gonna be one. And if I'm being completely honest with you, I enjoyed it to the point where, like, I enjoyed it up until the last 40 minutes. The last 40 minutes, it reminded me of the beginning of the film until that last 40 minutes. It reminded me of Joker, the original Joker, but more a musical. You know, that's fine. You can make it a musical and be fine. I don't care. You know, interesting stuff. And then, spoilers, the last 40 minutes, just really fucking sucked the air out of me. So, Joker is being Joker, and he has his Harley with Lady Gaga playing Harley and everything, and so basically, he's doing his whole shtick in the courtroom and all this shit and everything like that. And then he goes back to his jail cell and gets raped by the guards. That's legitimately what happened. And after that, he's just like, no, I'm guilty. Like, this is just all it is. He's just like, no, I'm guilty. I'm guilty. I'm a good person. And I'm guilty. I did all these things. I'm not mentally insane. Like, and this whole fucking movie, that's what, after everything that's bad that's happened to him in the first film and in the second film, that's what breaks him. And then there's an explosion that happened in the courtroom, and he fucking escapes, and he looks for Harley, or whatever the fuck her name is in this film. I don't even remember. Bro, Lady Gaga. And she basically just says, you're not Joker anymore, so I don't want you. And then he goes back to prison and gets fucking murked. Like, straight up, just, he dies, and apparently this isn't the real Joker, and all this shit. And I'm just like, what? Like, what, dude? He gets this... I don't know, man. It was just like the first movie, except musical version, and up until the last 40 minutes, and I'm just like, why? Like, why have you done this? Like, why? What was the point of that? Like, I'm just like, bro, like, what are we doing? Like, I get the whole, there is a bad side to the first Joker. Like, there was a really fucking weird fan base that actually, like, agreed with what the movie was saying, and that they sided with Joker, and it was really fucking weird. And then there's that one guy who dressed as the Joker and said a bunch of fucking slurs, and Gypsy Crusader, what the fuck ever his name is. I don't know, there's a lot. There's just a lot, man. But I don't think the Todd Phillips doing this, like, I don't think doing this in the way of ending this saga or whatever was good, like, at all. Like, it completely shit on what could have been a good movie, like, and it made this so far down on the list just by that last 40 minutes. Like, genuinely, I don't get it. Like, why do this? Why sit there and have a sequel to one of the most successful fucking movies, a fucking Oscar winner, a sequel to an Oscar winner, and that's hard to get these days, because the Oscars is a whole nother different subject. A sequel to an Oscar-winning film, and to make it this fucking bad, it's just, it sucks. It sucked. And I didn't really enjoy the fucking film. So, on that note, let's go ahead and get to number 4 on this list, because God, I don't want to talk about Joker 2 anymore, because it was fucking dog shit. And honestly, I don't know, man. It was bad. It was a disappointment. So, yeah, on to number 4.
You're a fucking disappointment.
Alrighty, on to number 4. Sony. We had Madam Web. Oh, man. When the actors even tell you that it's bad. Fucking Dakota Johnson fucking despised this film. She's embarrassed that she was in this film. That is fucking sad. Sydney Sweeney, of all people, she is not a good actress. And she even is embarrassed. She's the actress that's known for her tits and her sex scene in fucking Euphoria. And fucking, she even thought this was fucking terrible. Like, this movie, this is another movie that I watched on my vacation. And when I watched it, I was like, oh my God. At first, when I watched it, and I saw how bad Dakota Johnson's performance was, I was like, oh my God, what the fuck is wrong with this actress? And then I realized, in my head, I was like, wait, didn't she say that she didn't really care about the movie? And I was like, oh, wait a minute. She just didn't fucking care. Like, she just didn't care. Oh, the main villain. When I tell you, dude, the main villain was such a bad villain. It was the worst villain I've ever fucking seen. Jesus Christ, bro. The acting, bro, like his lines didn't even match the way he was speaking. Like, he was speaking, but it's like, it was like an anime dub. Like, legitimately, he wasn't speaking what his mouth was saying. How do you let that happen in a fucking multi-million-dollar production? How do you do that? How is that possible? And there is only few films that is worse than that this year. That is sad. It is sad that the acting ability of these actors and actresses isn't even capable enough to match the words that's being said and spoken. Like, how is that possible? Oh, the CGI was so bad. The suits were bad. Fucking the story was fucking laughable. It was laughable. Emma Roberts was in this film. She was in it for like 30 seconds. I said on Twitter, that's the sad part. I said on Twitter when the cast got announced and I saw Emma Roberts, I was like, oh shit, this looks good. And then fuck. It was like, fuck, bro. It wasn't. It wasn't, bro. Oh my god. I don't know. Fucking. A lot of people say Morbius is worse, but I think this. I haven't seen Morbius. I plan on seeing it eventually, but I think this is like 100 times worse. Like, genuinely, like this is bad. This was bad. And I don't got anything else to say about fucking Madam Web. So, God, please, actually, Kraven the Hunter comes out in a few days as I'm recording this. Comes out on the 12th or 13th. And I'm just hoping to God it isn't fucking terrible. So, yeah. Oh, just kill the Sonyverse, please. Please kill it. Kill it with fire. Please. I can't do it no more. Kill it with fucking fire. But on that note, let's get to number 3 on the list of the worst films of 2024.
You're a fucking disappointment.
Coming in at number 3, we have this overhyped abomination of a film, Long Legs, starring Nicolas Cage. This film was terrible. It's overhyped, pretentious garbage. I'm sitting here and I'm tired of sitting there and don't get me wrong, I often like gravitate towards like unusual films nowadays at this point. But I didn't care for this one. Like, when the trailer came out and I saw the trailer, I didn't care for it. Did not give a fuck. And everybody saw it and fucking said, oh, it's like the scariest movie of all time. I was just like, okay. Still didn't watch it. And then I had a list of movies that I wanted to watch before this list. Make sure I watched it and I gave everything a fair chance. So I added this on there. And the list of movies that I still needed to watch for this year before this list. And I was thinking, okay, this must be one of the greatest films of the year. All the hype that it gets and everything. And the acting was stilted. Nicolas Cage. People are saying, oh, you can't even recognize that as Nicolas Cage. It's just Nicolas Cage. It's Nicolas Cage. If you don't think it's Nicolas Cage, you're fucking stupid. I'm sorry. Like, this is a Nicolas Cage role. Like, this role was made for Nicolas Cage, but not in a good way. It's a bad Nicolas Cage role. He plays this Satanist fucking serial killer that somehow, like, implants, like, this fucking satanic brain in these dolls that he makes. And he gives them to families, and the dolls tell the families to kill each other. And it's just like, what? When I'm sitting here watching it, I'm just like, what in the fuck, dude? And then we follow this detective, and she's like covering the case, which apparently she's had an interaction with Nicolas Cage before, and when she was a child. And the twist, because everything's gonna have a twist now. I don't know why every filmmaker seems to think they're M. Night Shyamalan, because it doesn't work, bro. And it doesn't even work when he does it half the time. Fucking. But the twist is that way. So basically, the way that she meets Nicolas Cage, and Nicolas Cage tries to fucking give her a doll and almost kills her mother and her. So her mother pleads with Nicolas Cage to... She makes a fucking deal with the devil, basically. And I guess if Nicolas Cage dies, the thing that possessed Nicolas Cage, the satanic thing that possessed Nicolas Cage, possesses her mother, and then her, like, Nicolas Cage kills himself when he gets caught, and the mother then turns evil and tries to kill the detective's boss's daughter. And then the detective's boss dies, and the mother of that girl dies, and then the detective kills her mother and saves the little girl, and that was the end of the movie. And it was just like, it was so lame, dude. Like, and everybody overhyped it like it was the best movie of the fucking decade. And I'm sorry, it's not scary, it's not different, it's just stupid. Like, it's just completely fucking stupid. So, yeah, fucking Longlegs is pretentious and over fucking hyped. And honestly, if you're looking to watch a good movie, don't watch Longlegs. I think it's just a terrible, terrible, terrible fucking movie. And the only good thing about it is the little glimpse we get of Nicolas Cage, and it's not even that good. So, on to number 2 on our list.
You're a fucking disappointment.
Coming in at number 2, we have Hellboy, the Crooked Man. Fucking terrible. I just genuinely, I guess this is supposed to be a more comic accurate Hellboy. I'm sorry. Not everything, especially when it comes to film, needs to be comic accurate. Fucking accurate. I'm sorry. It just doesn't. It doesn't, because this did not translate well into film. It was just bland nonsense. The pacing did not make sense. The story made absolutely zero sense. We were just thrusted into it like we knew what the fuck was going on. I'm sorry, I'm not the biggest fucking Hellboy fan. I like the original movies. I don't read that many comics, you know? I'm not really a comic book guy. So, stating that, oh, you could only watch this movie if you like the comics or whatever, because I've seen that before, and I'm just like, no, that's not what movies are for. They're supposed to be something you could watch everybody could watch, you know, not something just for comic fans. And that's why I fucking hate some fucking fans of comic book adaptations, because they expect everything to just be like the comics. If The Boys was like the comics, it would not be fucking good. I'm sorry. It wouldn't be as good as it, you know, fucking has been. You know, and stuff like that. This is why you can't translate over just from the comics, because it doesn't work that way all the time. It really doesn't. And this movie has a big problem with that. It's bland, boring, and it fucking genuinely, like, it was just stupid. It was a waste of my time. Genuinely, it was a waste of my time. But, yeah. Let's get to the dishonorable mentions.
You're a fucking disappointment.
Alrighty, on to our dishonorable mentions. We have these every year. There's a lot of them. First one, we have Players. It's a Netflix movie with Liza Koshy. It's fucking awful. What do you expect? Terrible. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Ghostbusters Afterlife was okay, and then this movie just seemed like it was just put out there to be a sequel, and it wasn't really needed. It felt just there at times, and I don't know, it just wasn't that enjoyable of an experience. Not as enjoyable as fucking, you know, the original Ghostbusters. So that's why I didn't make, like, my full worst list. Another one is the Garfield movie with Chris Pratt and Samuel Jackson. It was just meh, but it wasn't anywhere near good. I don't think it was good. I don't think it was needed. It just feels like a useless film to me. Another Netflix film, Unfrosted, the Pop-Tart Story. Jerry Seinfeld, you are so unfunny. I don't fucking like you. I don't get why people like Seinfeld, because you're not funny. The only reason why the Bee Movie is funny is because it's about bees, and it's not about you. I'm sorry, fucking this movie, which by the way was directed by Jerry Seinfeld, this movie has Amy Schumer in 2024. Need I say more? Need I fucking say more? Self-Reliance from Hulu. This film, dreadful. Like, it had a really good trailer, and then just wasn't good. So it almost made my worst list, but there was a couple things on there, you know, that, you know, topped it. So yeah. Space Cadet starring Emma Roberts. Why? Why, Emma Roberts, must you fucking do this? I like you as an actress. And somehow, every time, especially this year, every time you're in the movie, it fucking sucks. It was on Amazon. Amazon's done good this year, except for fucking this. It was fucking terrible. On to the next one. We have Incoming, my Netflix. This was legit it was just American Pie for fucking Gen Z motherfuckers. Why? Why was this a thing? Why are we doing this? Like, why are we still making movies like this? It's not good. It's not fun. It's not funny. Like, dead ass. Like, it's not. On to the next one. We have Time Cut. Interesting premise. It's another Netflix film, though, so you know they gotta squander that. They always gotta squander it when it's fucking Netflix, because Netflix always squanders shit. Like, I don't even know, man. Fucking, it was a bad film. Very, 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 very bad film. Harold and the Purple Crayon. Fuck you, Zachary Levi. I fucking hate you. Like, why you do this? Every film you're fucking in, it's so bad. Like, it's so bad. And this was so close to landing on my worst list. But there was so much worse this year. Bro, like, I get it. It's a fun, goofy kids movie. But man, Zachary Levi, you fucking suck. Salem's Lot from HBO Max or what the fuck ever, bro. This was unneeded. This movie has been in development hell for 5 fucking years. And it was gonna be in theaters. But you know what happened? Nobody gave a fuck about it. And it got shipped off the Max in October this year. And man, it sucked. Oh man, I watched it around Halloween. This fucking was stupid. So, wasn't needed, man. And last but not least, the remake of The Crow. Oh, just no. Absolutely not. This movie was so stupid. This whole movie reminded me of Suicide Squad Joker. Jared Leto fucking Joker. That's all this movie reminded me of, and it was so awful. The gore was nice. I liked that. But, God, this movie was terrible. So, that was my dishonorable mentions. But, let's go ahead and get to what I think was the worst film of 2024. It shouldn't be a shocker at this point, so let's go ahead and get to it.
You're a fucking disappointment.
Coming in at number 1, the absolute worst movie of 2024 has to be the sequel to the runner-up last year, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. This movie consistently, like, the first Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey was so bad that it made my worst list last year. And this is the reason that I made the rule of 1 movie per franchise. This movie right here. Because there was a possibility that fucking both the Peter Pan horror movie that they were going to make and then the Bambi horror movie that they were going to make was going to be coming out this year. So that was something. But this, this movie basically was 10 times worse than the first Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, because instead of going off of the first movie, which I guess somewhat kind of had a little tiny story, it made up its own story that just made it completely 10 times worse. And they had Tigger in this one, and he was basically Freddy Krueger, and legitimately, the gist of this movie is that fucking the character fucking whatever the character, I don't even know, man. The kid character that grew up and was whatever, Christopher Robin. Fucking apparently Winnie the Pooh isn't just this fucking talking animal monster thing that he fucking hung out with years ago. Apparently, it's just fucking... It's his brother that got kidnapped and mutated into these fucking monsters. I'm just like, why? Like, why? It's so fucking stupid. Like, what is film? What is film? When I'm sitting here, like, watching shit like this, and this is what is fucking the worst movie, like this, this is join the elite club that fucking Don't Worry Darling and Megan are in, of how, like, bad this was. Like, dude, this was abysmal. This is the worst thing that came out this year that I've watched this year. Like, I watched it back in May, and I had a gut feeling that this was going to be the worst movie I watched this year, and it was, and it saddens me that there's so much more that's going to be made in this fucking universe, because for some reason people eat this shit up. Like, why? What are we doing? Like, what are we fucking doing? Why are we like taking all these fucking childhood characters and turning them into serial killers? It's fucking dumb. It's actually idiotic. Like, and I feel like we're legitimately, like, we are losing brain cells the more and more we go into the coming up years, like, with all this shit. Like, I'm losing brain cells watching some of these films, and it's a disaster. It's really, 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 really a disaster, honestly. And I don't really have no more to say, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get to the outro. Well, that was my worst list for the year. Now, when it comes down to it, if you like these movies, it don't bother me none. Like, I don't like them. I don't know how you could like them, but if you could find joy in these movies, more power to you. Honestly, I make these to get out my frustrations and my happiness throughout the year, and it gives me a reason to watch these films every year and not just watch films for films, you know. I like to critique and everything, and it's something I enjoy doing every year. But yeah, fucking I enjoyed most movies this year. These I did not, obviously. But I'll see you next week, or whenever this... I still haven't figured out the scheduling issues because of Christmas and everything like that. I'm trying to figure everything out when I'm going to release fucking the best list. I know this is going to be released on the 18th of this month. I'm recording this on the fucking 7th, so yeah. I will see you guys for the best list of 2024. But this was the worst films of 2024, and I will see you guys for the best films of 2024 next time. Peace.